Hey, Coach. Today I have
Hi.
with us Coach Jessee. She's from Florida, sunny Florida here. And I know she probably won't brag about herself, so I'll do a little bit of bragging that I've found out some information about her or whatnot. So she was Miss Florida runner-up, and she's been coaching for 20 plus years. She has a house full of coaches. She's also married to a husband of a coach. Actually, just made it to the Final Four just a few weeks ago, it sounded like. And we're excited to have her. What kind of stirred this conversation was several months back, she had posted a very popular and went viral tweet and social media post, kind of talking about her past and her experience, and we were going to dive into that today. If you wouldn't mind, I'll show that tweet up here here in a little bit or whatnot. But could you dive into a little bit of a backstory of what kind of brought you up to that tweet?
Just a lot of kids are transferring, and there's good reasons too. Obviously, we've got NLI deals and things like that. But when I was just thinking about these players that quit, and I think I'm talking about specifically the ones that quit because it gets too hard, not maybe they're in a wrong situation because they're not a great situation with the coach or something like that. There's definitely different reasons for transferring, but I do find that kids, if a situation gets too tough, like whether it's AAU or middle school or high school, like they're not playing, they transfer immediately to a different program instead of figuring out like why are you not playing. And so it was just a dialogue of my experiences. And I was at University of Florida, and I was in one of the top recruiting classes in the country, and it was hard, and I don't think I handled it well. So my husband and I have she's 13 now, daughter, and we want to teach her how to not make excuses, how to fight through things, and to hopefully set her up for the future where when she faces adversity, she knows how to handle it. And I think a lot of these kids don't know how to handle adversity, and they kind of, lose their minds a little bit if they lose, or if they're not playing, or if the coach comes down on them hard. So it kind of started at, I like to share my experiences, especially with my own players. I think it resonates well with them when you've made mistakes too, not just that everything was perfect and you made all the right choices, but you've made some mistakes, and this is what I did to fix that. So that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah. So, kind of to peel back a layer of that, kind of take us back to that process of your decision that you wanted to kind of move to the next step. Kind of peel back that layer and kind of go back to that experience and what led to this and that through adversity and what direction you went.
Um, so are you talking about specifically when I was at Florida?
Yes, yeah,
So when I was there, and things are a little bit, not a little bit, a lot different than they are now. I think kids have a lot more resources than we necessarily had back then. And I don't think I really knew how good I was either, but I thought I worked hard before I got to Florida, and it's a whole different level of work ethic in college. And I think every kid, I tell every recruit we have now that you think you want to play in college and you think you want to be a college athlete, but you really don't know what you're getting into yet. So I don't think I had any idea. And I wasn't in great shape. I don't think I wasn't horrible shape, but I didn't know like what kind of shape I needed to be in, like SEC wise. And we didn't lift a whole lot either. So I wasn't prepared for that. So that was a whole, I mean, I'm 6 feet tall. I was like 150 pounds and just skinny as a rail. And, I remember just like literally practically crawling back to my dorm after workouts. And, you put that in there too, where you got to go to class and you have all these you study hall and practice and stuff. And I just was overwhelmed. I don't think I had any idea, um, what I was getting into. I don't think I was prepared. So I feel like kids need to be prepared for, this is what to expect when you get there, and what do you need to do to become successful. So like I said, I think kids have a lot more resources now, and there's, like even me putting that out on Twitter, like, we just didn't have that back then either. So I took the easy way out and quit. And I'm lucky, I got to salvage my career and ended up, being a pretty good player. But I had to make some tough, even when I transferred to Rollins, like that first year was hard. And I'm like, gosh, Nikki, you got to figure this out. So I just honestly, I was like, you can either be a quitter and your career is, you're basically a failure because you were supposed to be so good and you haven't lived up to that, but not just because you've had, hard situations happen because you really didn't put in the work. Like you have to really overcome stuff to get to that level as a player that you want to. So luckily I had, I grew up, but I made a lot of mistakes on the way too. So
Yeah. So I keep on hearing the word adversity thrown out there quite a bit. Do you feel like in today's world and today's sports world that adversity kind of equals just the lack of playing time? And was that an issue with you, or what are you seeing currently, even with your daughter and youth sports, even recruiting and different things like that, of that word adversity and sports adversity or whatnot?
I think so our I help with our AAU program that my daughter plays in, and we kind of started it, and I've stepped kind of away from the coaching part of it, but I still run the organization and schedule stuff. And like even our first tournament was a few weeks ago, and we have one team that's more of a developmental team, players that are serious about basketball but need a if we put them all together on one team, they probably wouldn't play as much. So we keep our teams pretty small so everybody's playing and those kids are still locked into basketball. I just don't want them to quit at such a young age. Like everybody develops at a different time. And, we had I wasn't actually at the game because they played earlier than my daughter's team, but I heard a couple parents were like really bad mouthing the coach. And I'm like, because their kid didn't, and everybody plays. Like we only had 6 players for that game, so it's not like nobody's playing. But she didn't get a lot of touches, and I'm like, they're 12. Like really, like you're and their kids a year younger too than everybody else. And I'm like, I was like, we just don't do that. Like I feel like they're the type of parents that will pull their kid and go to a different program. And I'm like, your kid's really not that good. Like that's really why. Like it doesn't mean she's not going to be good, and she has lots of, you know athletic abilities, but she's got to learn how to play basketball. And it takes some time and everybody develops differently. And like my daughter is really, really tall and really skinny and looks like a baby giraffe. She's trying to figure it out, like how to move about. And she's not the best player out there, but she works hard and maybe she'll develop and stuff. But I think parents see that their kids aren't successful and they take it personally and they're living through their kids and they're trying to make their kid into the star because that's where they get their worth from. And I think that's one of the biggest things. And I tell a lot of parents too, I'm like, are you athletic, were you athletic? And they'll say, well, no. I'm like, well, what do you expect your kid to be like? You're not going to create something that's the exact opposite of you. Like they've got to develop some of this stuff too, and they've got to work hard to get there. So the biggest problem is parents like can't handle their kid not being the best, or they can't handle their kid being upset. Like our daughter started AAU, I think it was fourth or fifth grade, and she wasn't the best player on the team. And they played everybody until they got to the championship game, and then she barely played, and they won the championship. So we're talking to her on the way home, and I was like, "Are you excited? You guys did great." And she goes, "Yeah, well, I didn't play. I didn't play much." So we opened a dialogue. I'm like, "Why do you think that is?" And so she got to answer a little bit, and then we just told her, I said, "Listen, you're not the best player." And I said, "And honestly, you don't ever work at it, so you're not ever going to be the best player." So, and I said, "And even if you do work at it, you may still not be the best player. But that's not the purpose of sports. Is for you to figure out your work ethic to become the best you absolutely can become and learn teamwork and all those great things that you're supposed to learn along the way." So, I really think parents are living through their kids, and that's the biggest problem. So not that Tom and I do everything perfect, but we try to let our kid, I'm like, you don't have to play basketball just because we're coaches. And, we try to open the door for her to figure it out on her own too. But we don't mind speaking truth to her either and saying, hey, you know what, you really haven't been working on your game and this is where you need to go. So lucky for us, she has, really started to buy into working hard. So we'll see where it takes her.
Cool. Cool. Now, I heard a little bit there of, really trying to find your self identity in the sport and just knowing a little bit about you and seeing several tweets and social media posts. How do you coach self worth or self value in your teammate or in your players currently?
Um, well, one thing I try to have a relationship with them to figure them out, like what they're trying to get accomplished, so we can help them accomplish their goals within the team concept. Because we could have a player that wants to be all tournament or not all tournament, all conference, and maybe she's not our best player, so she's probably not going to be there, but she could play a big role in why we win or go to the national tournament. So we try to figure out what their goals are and what they want to accomplish and help them to accomplish it. But at the same time, like I'm pretty competitive like everybody, but and I'm at a Christian college too, so our values are a little bit different than other people. But after games, if we lose, I'm like, listen, I was like, I don't expect you to be celebrating and laughing and stuff on the way home, but we cry for a little bit. I go, then you got to get over it because we're moving on to the next game. We got to figure out, what we did wrong and what we need to do better. So I try not to make basketball their idol. Like, we see you as a person. Like, we're not, I may be on you on the court, but then I'll be hugging them off the court. And, you just try to find some kind of balance with it. I think a lot of these kids, especially when they get to college, they've only been successful. So when they get to college, they're not the best player necessarily. And even if they are the best player, they may not be, at the level they were, in high school or AAU, because they're playing with better players and playing against better players. So, we just try to find a balance there too. And we want, when they come here, we want it to be a good experience overall, off the court. Like, we try to do fun things with them, and we want it to not just be like, hey, we just are basketball, that's it. Like, this is the only thing we care about, and that's it. Like, basketball is your avenue to get you to where you want to go, but it shouldn't be your idol.
Yeah. Cool. How do you deal with currently with adversity and playing time with kids, even at your school or even at the AAU or whatnot? How do you work with those parents asking those questions about playing time, about my kids not playing enough? How do you address that, or kind of start those conversations, or have those parents come to you and then you address those conversations?
Well, with parents, I don't address anything with. I don't talk to parents, even in our AAU group. I'm like, listen, like, the kids that get better are the ones that are at every practice. Like, you can tell they're getting better. They're doing stuff on their own. I'm like, if you want, and we play, they're 12 and 13, so everybody's going to play, and we have 7 on each team. So they're all going to rotate through and play. But I'm like, we are trying to win games, and and even my daughter doesn't, like, she's sat some too, and I'm like, do whatever you got to do. If you don't think she can help you win, you play whoever. So, but I don't have discussions with parents, and I don't in college either. But
Yeah.
with players, for the most part, I think they know their role. I'm like, if you want your role to change, you need to see, like, who's ahead of you. It's not like this last year I did something different, though. We only had 10 on our roster for a specific reason, because I'm like, we're going to rotate all you guys in there. We have a small team for a reason. This next year we'll have 12. So, I mean, I expect them all to play, but they may not play as many minutes as they want. We do regular meetings with them too, so they know where they stand. And, I'm like, here's what you got to do to get on the court and do more. But most times those kids, so I just think I just finished my 24th year, and the kids at the end of the bench are consistently the ones that don't work as hard.
Hmm.
And they've determined that they're not good enough, or the coach doesn't think they're good enough, so they're not going to come in and work. I've never had a player that was in the gym every single day working that I didn't play. So it's hard though. They don't want to necessarily do more. And they're like, well, this so-and-so's not doing as much. And I'm like, well, they're better than you. So if you want to beat them out, do more than them. And then you put pressure on them to do more. And then if they don't do more, guess what? You slowly start getting better than them. So it's a work ethic thing, and it's hard. And, if their friends are going out and, they don't necessarily want to be in the gym when everybody's going out having fun, or they don't want to get up early when everyone's sleeping in. So, but I have never had a player that busted their butt and was in here every day that I didn't play.
Yeah.
So, and like, for example, when I was at St. Leo, I actually was just talking to her the other day. I had a player I inherited And she asked me when I got hired, like, if she was going to play. I said, I don't know. And I said, if that's a concern for you, you probably need to transfer right now. And then we started coaching. I love her to death. And she wanted to shoot threes. Well, she was a horrendous 3-point shooter. I'm like, if you want to shoot threes, you better prove to me that you can, because I'm not letting you shoot threes when you're shooting 20%. Well, the kid got in the gym and worked her butt off. And she actually, against my husband's team, we beat them in the semifinals of conference tournament. And she hit 6 threes and had a career night. And she still talks about that. Like, she goes, I knew that I had to work, and if not, you weren't going to play me. So ultimately they got to decide for themselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I get this question quite a bit, and it's always like, I have a child playing travel basketball, and he's playing maybe like 3 or 4 minutes, usually in the lower leagues, say like third or fourth grade, and we're doing a ton of traveling, spending a ton of money traveling, getting into these games or whatnot, and it's adding up to being way too much cost. Is it's just not worth it to us anymore, and we're wanting to leave the team or whatnot. What would you how would you speak into that?
well, I don't think anybody should travel until it depends how serious they want to take basketball, but people get into travel too early. Third and fourth grade, you shouldn't be playing AAU. You should be going to camps and getting training. Spend that money and get a trainer, somebody that will work with them. Play little church leagues and stuff that aren't that expensive. So, but at that level too, just like we do with our two teams, like we play everybody. Like they all get really, honestly, they get a ton of playing time. So, like the whole point is that you want to keep playing them. You don't want to lose them at that early age, because everybody develops at a different age. So I tell parents at that age, like, you shouldn't be playing. They should be training, like learning the fundamentals, and they got to figure out, like, basketball is not like any other sport. Like, it is not. I mean, there's so many. You have to be athletic, obviously. You have to be somewhat quick, and you got to be able to shoot and dribble and do all this stuff at the same time. And it's a cardio sport too. So a lot of kids don't even know how to shoot a left hand layup, or they don't know how to shoot with their left hand, and they're playing travel ball. Like, those things got to be, you got to master those first. And that's not necessarily what kids want to work on either. They really just want to play games, and that you don't get any better that way. Like, usually the kids that are good at that are the ones that can drive the basketball. They're just quicker than everybody else, or more aggressive than everybody else. And then the ones that are learning the skills and things like that are a little bit slower to peak, which is okay as well. So I'm not a big fan of those kids playing travel ball real early. Like, even with our team, like, we don't travel. We play, I think we play 8 total tournaments, and we give them off in June so they can go to camps and do stuff with their family. And then July, we play 2 tournaments, and one of them is out of state. I think we're going to Memphis this year, just so they can see talent across the country and just get that experience. But we don't, and we kind of play local. Like, we'll go to Tampa and Orlando, maybe Gainesville or somewhere like that. But I think these kids, they need to have lives. Like, we practice twice a week. We practice, I'm sorry, in the fall, we'll like go once a week on Sundays and just do developmental stuff. Like, we go for 2 hours to work on fundamentals and shooting and things like that. And we scrimmage a little bit, obviously, because everybody likes that. We want them to have fun with it, but we're teaching them the whole time. And then once spring rolls around, we go, I think through January, we go 1 day a week. And then once February hits, we go Sundays and Tuesday nights. And Tuesday's an hour and a half, and we're doing more team stuff then, because we're getting ready for tournaments. But I think sometimes less is more. But we do, like, we have notebooks for our team. Like, we make our kids keep track of when they're working out. I'm like, you don't need to be working out 7 days a week. We're not trying to burn kids out, but you do need to be working on your own. Like, you should be working on ball handling and shooting, and 20, 30 minutes, 3 days a week. That's not a big deal. So we try to encourage that and try to at least teach them work ethic.
Yeah. When would you suggest a heavy travel league or travel schedule for students then?
Honestly, not until like summer before ninth grade.
Okay.
They don't need to play. And I know a lot of kids are playing, and that's okay too. But a lot of those people are playing because they think colleges are looking at them. There is no college in the country looking at 7th, 8th graders and 6th graders. They may be at your games, but they're not looking at you. And unless you're like one of the best players in the entire country, they'll know who you are. Besides that, like you could be the best team on your best player on your travel team, and in 2 years you haven't grown any, and now all of a sudden you're the shortest and you have to change positions, and I mean, there's just so many things that go into development. It's hard to tell who's going to be a stud.
Yeah. Can you say that a little bit louder for everyone to hear that one
It's
one
hard
more
to
time?
tell who's going to be a stud, unless they're like Shaquille O'Neal's son and they're like, 7'2" and in seventh grade.
Exactly, exactly. I see that too often, and exactly what you were saying. You know, I'm out around the Indianapolis area, and I mean, there's gyms full every weekend of everything from kindergarten all the way up to high school that are. I mean, it's just explosive. And I'm sure you've seen it down there in Florida as well or whatnot. But
Oh yeah.
exactly what you've been saying is, starting too early, getting burnout, and you know what? It gets too crazy. Parents are, on the court throwing punches over, third, fourth, fifth grade games, and
Right.
it's just getting um, crazy sometimes with some of this stuff out there or whatnot. And then like you said, there's no college recruit out there at a fifth, sixth grade game. I'm sorry, but there's really not.
Right.
So great stuff, great information. So, um, is there anything else that you would like to share that I haven't hit that you could think of about kind of this topic, adversity, or just even youth sports and adversity? Anything that you can think of that we haven't hit that you'd like to share?
No, just that, I think the whole thing with adversity, like, and your kid failing, I think it's a good thing. Like, I want our kid to fail at times to figure out how to get through stuff. And, like a couple of years ago, she tried out for a play at our school, and, she had to go to the camp for the whole week before, and then they tried out for the play for in the fall. And she was all about it. And, I tried to help her go over her lines at home. She really didn't want to go over them, didn't want to practice. I'm like, that's fine. Well, she ends up not making it. She got cut and she was devastated for a couple hours, was crying. So, I took her and got ice cream. We talked about it. And I'm like, so my daughter, got cut, didn't make the play, was super upset. And I had a good talk with her, and I'm like, well, I go, how bad did you really want to make it? And she's like, I really wanted to make it. And I said, okay, so what did you do to get ready for this? And she was like, well, I probably could have practiced more and, put some effort into it. So we had a really good conversation about it. And I was like, if you really want to do this, then, let's practice and get you ready. Like next year, we'll do the same thing. Well, next year comes around, she didn't do it because she really didn't want to be in the play. She just, or didn't want to put in the effort you needed. She just kind of wanted to be on the stage, I guess. So just it's okay for your kids to fail. It's okay for them to fail a test. Like we tell our daughter, like if you did your absolute best, that's okay. But if you didn't, that's a conversation like why and what do you need to do to fix it? And so I would absolutely love for our daughter's name is Rudy. I would love for Rudy to be an absolute star. I don't know if she's going to be, and that's okay too. I just love watching her play. So I have to keep myself in check too. Like, do you just enjoy watching her play, or are you trying to live through her and get her to be some star? And I don't know if she has the ability to do that, but she is going to work hard to get to that point. And I say that if they want to do that, like we've had to ask our daughter, we're like, listen, you can just play for fun if you want, that's okay too, but you've got to always go hard in practice, and you have to understand too, if you don't do anything extra, then you may not get to play a whole lot. So she's really bought into working hard, and so we'll help her get to wherever she wants to go. But at the same time, we just want her to be the best she can. So if she fails along the way, that's okay. She learns stuff, regardless of whether she becomes a good player or not.
Yeah, for sure. So to try to throw out there some of your Twitter information, and then also maybe just to explain a little bit. I'd like to shoot out information about what you have going on. I know you have a few Nike camps coming up this summer.
Yeah,
that
we
you
do.
could throw out there. And also, if you haven't already, go ahead and follow Coach Jessee on Twitter, on Facebook. She's a great follow. I always enjoy reading some of your tweets and some of your posts. You keep it very real, honest, and throw it out there like you should. So share a little bit about your handles, and then also what you got coming up this summer in your camps.
I don't even know what my handles are. I would just say I think it's at I'm sure it's either Coach Jessee or Nikki Jessee or
Okay.
something like that. But
We'll
Jessee
put
is
them
spelled
we'll put
okay.
them up here, and we'll post them up and make sure people know them and see them. We'll put them up here in a bit here. And then what about your Nike camps, and how did those kind of come about and evolve?
Well, I really like teaching, and I get an opportunity to do that a lot during the summer with younger kids. But I love teaching shooting. I think so many kids, especially in Florida, aren't really fundamentally sound. So um, I like to teach that because I'm like, who doesn't like to score? So we do one Nike camp May 6th. It's a day camp, just mainly shooting for the whole day and working on different ways to score. And then we have another overnight one for a weekend. I think it's June 2nd through 4th. And it's a kind of like an elite camp. So we teach a bunch of different things. And I don't know, it's fun. I love camp. So we're excited to do it.
Good deal. We'll definitely put that information up as well. And we appreciate your time, Coach. And if you could, maybe throw out, I'll shoot you an email and throw out if you have any other people that you know that may be interested in being interviewed. That'd be great.